everyone, so we're going to be looking at how we can set up a hooks folder with a bunch of calculations and then use it on a page. So I'm going to create a brand new project on my desktop. I'll say hooks example. And I'll say no to all of these options right here. So what I'll do is I'll just drag and drop this folder over, and I'm going to go to my index.js, and I'm going to remove a few things from here. I'll be removing this inter line and removing the import for the inter. And then I'll delete everything in between the main tag. So we have a basic template now set up just like this. And the next thing we want to do is I'm going to create a hooks folder. So what I'll do is at the root, I'll just say new folder, and I'll just call it hooks. And inside here, I'll just make a new file and I'll call it calculation.js. And inside this calculation JavaScript file, I'm going to set up this counter. And what we're going to do is just add a basic example where we add or minus numbers based on the button that we click. But all of the logic will now be stored in this hooks folder, and then we'll use these hooks on the page we need. So what we can do is we'll just first import a use state. And then I'll set up this use counter. And we're going to start initially at 0. So whenever this application starts, we see the counter starts at 0. And then we'll have two different functions, one for add and I'm just going to organize this better. And then I'll set the counter. And then we are going to return the values of counter, add, and minus. And then below the use counter, we have to export default use counter. So now we can call this use counter on whatever page we want, and then use the logic inside of here in order to do what we want to do on the page. So let's save it. And I'm going to go to my index.js, the home page, and this is where I'm going to be importing the counter at the top. And it's coming from our hooks folder and calculation file. And then in between the main tag here, I will have an h1 and say result. And I'm going to have a counter here that I'm going to be calling from this variable that contains all the information. So as counter, add, and minus to the use counter. And the result will show the counter or whatever count it's at. And then I'll have a paragraph tag, which will just have a plus, and then another one which will just have a minus. And then on the click of the plus, I'll connect it to add function. And then this one will be connected to minus. So now we have the add is associated with the plus, and then the minus is associated with the minus sign. And they're all coming from this use counter, which we have imported at the top. That's coming from our hooks folder inside here. So now all of the calculation will be done inside of this .js file. And you can see that all the logic gets placed into this file, and then it leaves our other pages, or whatever page we're on. It's going to be a lot more cleaner and simpler. So then we separate the logic into a separate area, a separate file. So now what I'm going to do is just run it to see what it looks like. So right here we got result of 0, and we have the plus and we have the minus. So if I click on plus, you can see that the result is increasing by 1 each time, and if I click the minus, it is decreasing by 1 each time. So now we know that the logic of this application is working. So what I'll do is I will leave this code on my GitHub page, and then the link will be down in the description box below.